You're gonna have a CD. She goes, it's not this. It's if all of you are sitting. Yeah, it's like a kind of.
Do you guys talk about like the issues we talk about in your class and stuff? A couple other people have said that. So like during government class, do you guys like go over our agendas and discuss what we're talking about, or what do you?
Paper.
No, I mean in class.
Oh, in class, no.
No.
Talks about city council meetings.
I'm not that important.
Yeah.
Well,
we're overshadowed. Probably the election.
What is to write it? What do you have to turn in? Like this was my most favorite topic, or
No, just what I was in.
Then we have to write a word and say about what.
wow.
You can have that.
As these individuals know, a 200-word essay is like a short email from me.
Oh, God. I didn't even know it was storm night. Yep, that's right.
It always happens.
Usually budget nights that you get onto the base. All right, let's. If we get all started again, it'll all kick on.
It's still right.
Yeah.
I just lose.
You lose your. There you go. All right, we'll start the meeting. I'll call the November 18th City Council meeting to order. Call of the roll.
Abby Hansen. Here. John Hawkins.
Here.
Megan McFarland. Here. Matt McKinney.
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call for a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item 1, petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. Except in case of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but may ask city staff to research the matter. I have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. You don't have anything for us? We want quick dance routine or anything? We'll move on. Item 2 is minutes, claims, reports, licenses and requests. The following items have been deemed non-controversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, will be considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Item A is minutes of November 4 for the regular city council meeting. B is the claims, including payroll ending November 2nd and the fund list. C is reports for wastewater, electric, water for October. D is the police department activity report for October. E is the fire department report for October. Recommend approval for issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following: renewal of a Class C retail alcohol license outdoor service for the Links at Webster City, 405 Des Moines Street. Renewal of a Class B retail alcohol license for Quick Star 924 at 505 Fairmeadow Drive. Renewal of a Class C retail alcohol license for Wildcat Distilling at 626 2nd Street. And a special Class C retail alcohol license, 5-day license for Top of Iowa Lucky Wife LLC for participation in the Christmas in the City event on December 7th. She's there at the 600 block of Wilson Avenue. And that's it.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item 3, general agenda. A third reading of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by replacing Chapter 24, Article 3 pertaining to natural gas franchise, granting to Black Hills Iowa Gas Utility Company, LLC, doing business as Black Hills Energy, a Delaware limited liability corporation, its lessees and successors, and assigns a non-exclusive authority for a period of 25 years to erect, maintain and operate a gas distribution system and any and all necessary mains, pipes, services and other apertures thereunto appertaining in, upon, over, across and along the streets, alleys, bridges and public places of the city, and for the transmission, transportation, distribution and sale of natural and or mixed gas for heating, industrial and other uses and purposes in the city, and for the purpose of transmitting, transporting, conveying such gas into, through or beyond the immediate limits of the city to other cities, towns and customers, and prescribing the terms and conditions under which the company is to operate.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the third reading of an ordinance on a topic that you've been well familiar with this year. As you already know, the voters did approve the renewal of the lease with Black Hills, separate subject, but somewhat linked to our efforts here during the general election. And this ordinance was traveling on a parallel route as we consider those items. So we recommend approval as we did the first and second times for this first and second readings.
Call for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for a motion to pass and adopt.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item B is a resolution approving the official city street financial report. Pretty well as it says. We're not
You're not
we're not
getting
going to have it.
Oh, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't. So
Yeah. Okay. Anyone, unless somebody's got a question.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
C is a resolution approving the annual urban renewal report.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
D is a resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for Fairway.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
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 John, you'd like to?
No,
kick
no,
in any way you can.
no, I was just making sure.
Okay. E is a resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of the annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for 3DK Enterprises LLC.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item F is a resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for Gary and Brenda Fox.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
G is a resolution obligating funds for the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue for appropriation to the payment annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which will come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for the First State Bank Edition number 2.
Move to approve.
Second.
Item H is a resolution obligating funds from the
We did the,
G.
Move
Yeah.
to approve.
we didn't all approve.
Oh,
We have it.
oh, sorry. All those in favour say aye.
Which, oh,
It was for G.
gee.
Getting ahead of myself. Item H, resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for People's Credit Union.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Item I is a resolution obligating funds from the Urban Renewal Tax Revenue Fund for appropriation to the payment of annual appropriation tax increment financed obligations, which shall come due in the next succeeding fiscal year for Ridge Development LLC and LMI Fund.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
We do those pretty well every year, so if it seemed like we were just rushing through them, it's because we've done them quite a few times already. And we have to do them once a year. Item J is a motion to seek direction on 1919 Wilson Avenue property as it pertains to the Brewer and Wilson Street project.
Carol, would you be able to bring up on the map 1919, if you can Google it, or I don't know if there was an actual image of it. I'm going to go through the memo just because this is maybe a unique situation. Brandon and Ariel are also here. They've been staff on this item. It is in conjunction with our reconstruction of the Brewer Wilson Street project and associated easements that the city needs to obtain to complete that project, temporary easements. So I think we're all familiar with the project. This is the street that goes by Pleasant View School and up and around that area. One of the properties that we are seeking a temporary construction easement from is at 1919 Wilson Avenue. So the city reached out and requested an easement. The property owner did express some reluctance because the easement as proposed and the project as proposed was going to curb the front of the property. The front of this property is currently being used as two parking stalls for one half of the duplex that occupies the property at 1919 Wilson Avenue. As the council is aware, the city code does not allow for parking in front yards. However, it is believed that this parking area was installed sometimes in the 1970s, certainly before the property was acquired by the present owner. We do agree that curbing the entire front yard would impede parking in the front yard because that would be a nuisance violation. And that is something that we regularly encounter, parking in front yards or things like that we go about and abate. Parking is present in the rear yard of the property, accessed by a private alley that's maintained by the owner, who also owns then the property on Des Moines Street, I think there's 6 plexes up there, or 6 units of townhomes up there. The property owner currently uses the garage as storage for business purposes. And the 2 rear parking stalls, I should add, instead of just simply not believing that it's not the best option for the residents, those are also used for the rear unit. So 1920 or 1921, whatever's back there. If you've got questions on what I'm describing, please interrupt me. So the purpose of this item is sort of discuss this issue, the associated city codes that we're working with, our attempts to sort of broker a compromise, and then to just gather the will of the council on how you want to proceed on this project. There are several code provisions that relate to this matter. The first is an encroachment permit. The code requires that a permit be obtained for any encroachment into public right-of-way. This property does not have that permit. We would also not recommend an encroachment permit be used for this property due to the permanent nature of the request. However, if you disagree, we can explore that option. Responsibilities for the repairs, certainly in the event the city needs to exercise its rights in our public right-of-way, the permit holder is responsible for repairs and damages, and then must also reimburse the city for any costs incurred due to obstructions. We're not suggesting that any costs be assessed to the property owner for whatever happens here, other than if you would decide, or the other bodies would decide to have a parking area in the front, they would be responsible for it. We're not trying to recoup the costs of removing this if we so choose to do so. Pre-existing conditions may remain under previous agreements with the city and the responsible party. We do not have copy of the agreement, nor do we have records of when this was installed or when the private alley was installed. It is reasonable to believe that an agreement could be entered into, if you would like, prior to the project being completed, if you so desire as the council. Should that be selected, you can refer it to the zoning board of adjustment. I can also consult with our legal counsel if you do not desire to do that and see if an agreement can be entered into as a secondary option to that particular code issues. Certainly there are code provisions that lay out the consequences for violating the right of way and encroaching on it. Certainly the city is within its rights to remove that parking area as part of the regular construction. If it's the preference of the council, as noted, the property owner has requested a different option than that. And then finally, of course, parking in the front yard is typically not allowed. No off-street parking is permitted in the front yard of properties. The current property does violate this and does not meet the setback requirements for parking. So a possible compromise could be came to with the zoning board of adjustments, or like I said, with this possible agreement, if it can't be reached outside of that avenue, to create some type of solution that would meet both the council's and the owner's preferences. So several options exist. They include, but are not limited to, the three that we've laid out. You can just proceed as the project has outlined by curbing and seeding this area and enforcing the relative codes, violation of the use of the right of way, parking in the front yard, etc. I suspect that might be challenged given the history of the property, but it's within your at least options to consider. We could refer this to the Board of Zoning of Adjustment to consider the same issues that we're considering. And then third, we've included other options that you may have thought of that staff did not. That concludes my report on the matter. I'm happy to answer further questions. I know that Mr. Barnafus may have some thoughts on the matter. Oh, okay. Mrs. Bertrand, anything?
So if you could go back to the folks, I think maybe just to simplify a bit. So these are two parking stalls that is currently being used. And so with the curb and gutter that's going to go in here that we were recommending, just like any other street, this was people thinking maybe a city alley, actually a private driveway / alley. So our current recommendation is to treat like any other street, but put curb and gutter. However, the property owner is stating that he would like to continue to see his parking here because he purchased the property that way. But like John stated, there's no agreement that we could find. It's kind of his fallback to, and also the alley is used for both properties that the homeowner or the property owner owns both, one on one street and here.
So that private drive would be still the private drive for that building if need be. So like what I'm thinking is if you're curb and guttering it, right, you're going to do curb and gutter all down the street. So it'd be no different than a driveway, right? You just wouldn't curb stuff. And I know it's not a driveway, but just hear me out here. Right? So I'm thinking if you pull up the image I have on Google Maps and it doesn't have the leaf cover.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more defined where there's like some grass by that tree. So do you mind?
Yeah.
So like this here is actually the yard and that's like gravel, you know?
Yeah.
So hear me out, like would he be open to taking this tree out and then putting parking here? So you're going down the private drive, you're turning into parking and then this is just grass.
So that's kind of what aerial that had been proposed and discussed to get it outside of the right of way on his property. Other possibilities were to widen the driveway, almost do like an on-street parking, so you can pull on one side of the alley or driveway, whatever you want to call it. That was an option that we proposed. However, he kept falling back to, and you're right, this doesn't find it as well, but just think in between the two trees is gravel.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different options, like John stated, the garage, like Ariel says, with a 2-family dwelling, you're required to have 4 parking stalls. So even though he is using the garage for storage, that's his right, but also he's taking away two parking stalls in the garage. You can park in front of the garage doors. There's also, I believe, if you look at Google Earth on the image looking down, I think they're also parking in between the home or the house and the garage. So there's just a few things like Don said. I mean, we're willing to, you know, obviously we do have codes that we have to follow. However, you know, if you do work with the property owner, we allow it for one, you know, will this come back to haunt us later and in the future, another resident wants to do it. I mean, yes, this is an isolated incident. It may be a one-off. I mean, I don't know. That's why we were kind of wanting your feedback and what you thought, how you viewed it.
Because I don't see it any different than when somebody, you know, adds a tax onto their driveway. You know, they jet out for that extra parking spot and then they taper it back in towards the drive. So say for instance, that alley is not really an alley, if it's a driveway, what's the difference than just adding a too deep spot where that tree is?
Mhm.
So that's
Taper it
actually
back
what
to-
we're doing here. He has, you know, we got to get rid of where he's parking his sheriff's car. So we're widening the driveway a little bit and we're providing him a parking spot.
Oh, there, okay, I'm thinking of the one with the deck there.
Well, yeah, but this is the same thing. I mean, that's in the right, that's considered parking in the right of way.
I see, you're doing that for that person.
Well, that's how we were able to come up with a solution here, but that's very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
If we can do.
If we take that
Those
tree out,
trees coming out there, aren't they?
Those
Yeah.
trees are really good.
so if the side yard now becomes just a single width of a car, but too deep. It's really no different than tacking on like a little bit to a driveway, right? Say someone wants to, you know, you see it all the time, they tack on.
Wide here.
No, well, yeah, so it'd be a car here and a car here. It'd be just be driveway and then it tapers in. You know, when people tack on.
Yeah, that would get into the widths of driveways. Aaron would be able to help me on that.
Sorry, Kirk.
So it comes to width of driveways, single car, double stall drives. There.
Okay, there's more to it than, okay, I get it. Okay,
And you can't just
I think,
pave that and not have a curb and gutter there? And would that be considered parking in the front still then? Like the front yard, if he paved that? Yes.
Yeah, so that goes back to parking in the right of way.
Okay,
So yeah, it'd be like parking in the front yard. Something that, you know, it does go against.
I wasn't sure if since it was paved, if it
Sure.
would be considered.
would there be on-street parking at all on that street when you put the curb and gutter in?
I believe, yeah, you put me on the spot there. I'm trying to think if there is no parking on one side.
There's no parking on one side. I lived in this apartment when I was in my early twenties.
One side of the road, that's what I was saying to.
Did you park?
so the sheriff's got
Stops there.
parked
Couple
illegally.
years ago when I lived
Would
there,
have
so.
gone away.
So we're gonna solve that.
So he's got to get a wider driveway, but we can't give these guys a wider driveway.
Well. He wants to. And so how do we
Take that tree out.
we do one here? You know,
But but we say like Logan said, he gets one in front of the other, he doesn't get.
Yeah,
inside.
you load them up, you know, your rail car.
He
That's
has,
what I'm saying.
he has to pour his driveway, right? All that grass that's beside the path would be.
Just one row.
so like right here,
So that,
Yeah.
yeah, where that grass is, he'd have to pave that there, but
that'd be.
So.
Can you come to the podium? We can't hear you.
resolve the issue because like Brandon stated, we're doing the same thing for this driveway here. We're allowing that extension or bump out. So we're classifying this as his driveway, more than an alley. So I would say that that could be a.
the trees go.
Opposed to.
You would just make it
say,
wider.
Yeah.
let's try to do the same thing for you.
Yeah.
See,
And it should be easy to get out too, if you're, you know, rail cart in there, person in front could get out because they could just get into the
They can
driveway.
yeah, we can. I mean, if that's.
And it might be a compromise for them, again, you know. I mean, again, we don't want, we wanted, one of the biggest parts of this road is rainwater. right? You know, having curb on this road is a big deal. So obviously we don't want to just take a 30-foot chunk and just no curb. So,
I mean,
If we bring it in and then bump it out there, which that's what I'm envisioning.
pass.
It's the same thing we're gonna do on the next, not homeowner, we're just gonna bring it.
but
Well, let's see how that works, I guess.
Is this something where we approach the property owner, I guess, of the design and the piece?
Well, I want to ask, just so you guys, does this resolve your concerns with code violations? What does the code say about accessing parking stalls from a private? Is this considered a private drive then, or a private alley? And just to sort of explain the question is, I know that a couple of the concerns that both you raised was, if we're going to do something, we want to be able to explain what we're doing to the next situation that we encounter. And am I hearing correctly that the solution that Logan crafted
Understanding, and I believe
that the
it's gonna meet what all the criteria.
as well?
Codes.
Oh. Okay, well, we will approach the property owner. If that is the direction of the council on this matter.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks.
Item K, we're on K, aren't we? Yes. Resolution accepting and approving acquisition of property generally located at 547 Second Street and 612 Wilson Avenue in the city of Webster City, Hamilton County, Iowa.
Ms. Bertrand, are you presenting?
So this item and the following item are both actually just accepting the properties that we went to court in October for. This particular resolution is for the downtown building that's been barricaded. So the court did order this be deeded to the city. It falls under the Iowa Code 657A as an abandoned property or vacant property. So this would be that front building that's been barricaded as well as the one that is adjoining it on Wilson towards the north alley. So this is just formally having the council accept this property.
Call for motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
I is resolution accepting and approving acquisition of property generally located at 408 Grove Street, city of Webster City, County, Iowa.
Again, this is a property that we went for October. This has been a property that we've had ongoing violations as an unsafe vacant and abandoned property. So back on October 21st, the courts did grant this property to the city, deeding it to us under the 657A as well. So again, just looking for you guys as formal acceptance of the property.
Move to approve.
Second.
Favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Aaron. M is a motion to approve the change of beneficiary for the Wilson Brewer Park funds.
Yes, attached is a letter well, let me back up. We have received a request from Enhance Hamilton County to transfer the beneficiary status held by the city to the newly created Wilson Brewer Park Foundation, so that the newly created board may access the fund and account balances. I will be making a revision to this letter after assuming it's approved tonight, to the last sentence, just mentioning that this council has authorized this. I did receive a couple questions about the funds, and so have brought this forward to you so that you are aware that this change of beneficiary status is taking place. The Wilson Brewer Park Fund was established some time ago, I believe, by a previous city employee. Since that time, several different donations have come in and out of it, but by and large, the bulk of the balance of the $270,000 is money that was deposited for the Hamilton County Courthouse by Hamilton County. So they're not, this is not $270,000 of city funds. It's just accumulated balances of donations to the park over time, plus whatever Hamilton County has put in for the reconstruction of the courthouse. The second fund is the endowment fund that was created, I believe, in concert with approval of the agreement, and a condition of that agreement was that a $1 million donation be made. As you can see, that has been made and is accruing interest. With that, I would just request approval from the council to change the beneficiary status of these funds to the foundation, if that is your will. If not, I can inform the foundation otherwise.
What would we do with that other one? Just asking.
Yeah, so we really there's really not any funds outside of what the uses that have been set up for would be used for. So these are not funds that are available to us.
Very well wrong too. This is just kind of formality in a sense.
Yes.
To get them every dollar they under the same roof, if you will,
Yeah.
to start developing the things. So, I mean, it's written well and it's laid out, and I appreciate the explanation. But yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, I feel this is formality to get them all the funds they had prior tacked on to the endowment, and then get moving on what they're doing. So.
And as the council, I'm sure, remembers, two of the appointees to the foundation are yours.
Mhm.
So they are acting on your behalf in regards to these funds. We do still, that will pretty much divest us of any financial related matters of the Wilson Brewer Park. You'll remember you closed out the courthouse park on our end, so the board is managing that this time. A few weeks or meetings ago, that was a construction project. And then we have a few $1,000 remaining for the Mulberry Church Fund that we continue to manage, although my understanding is that that will be drawn down for a project pretty soon. So after that, that would be our last remaining funds associated with the park here.
Not to get too deep in the weeds, but like, just remind me kind of how we're going to handle like maintenance, like, because is that still something we're helping them with, or are they paying us through the endowment, or are we donating our manpower and equipment to like, mow and clear snow off the path and stuff?
The agreement laid out that the city would continue to be responsible for mowing and snow removal. I believe that the crews may at times remove trash if they're in the area. That is our obligation. We also continue to maintain property and liability insurance on the park and its structures. That though is nice. Billed to that is either deducted from our $50,000 contribution or billed to the foundation, whichever they choose.
Okay, cool.
We have received some requests for assistance, cleaning gutters, trimming trees to that effect. I have allowed the departments to determine the pace and scope of that work. Given the spirit of the agreement, there was somewhat of a dividing line between their responsibilities and what at the time was felt to be maybe a lack of our action in some of those areas. So, we have been approached on a couple things, and, we're trying to be supportive, but not extend past the spirit of the agreement.
No, sounds good. Thank you.
So,
Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item N is a motion to consider development agreement with Jeff Habhab Construction Incorporated at 614 First Street.
thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a development agreement between a proposed development agreement for your consideration between the city of Webster City and Jeff Habhab Construction related to the property located at 614 First Street. As you know, the council has discussed this property on 3 or 4 or more different occasions, at least since I've been here. We had some difficulty obtaining bids that we felt were reasonable for its demolition. You'll remember that those bids were originally between $48,000 and $50,000 to demolish this house, largely because of the asbestos present. And it's, I believe, close proximity to other neighboring buildings. Broadly, the proposed conditions of this development agreement, or the exchange, so to speak, is that Mr. Habab has agreed to demolish the structure and order the property in the way that our community development department is comfortable with. If you want to speak to some of those different items, you can, Ariel, but I'm just going to summarize it as that. In exchange for $28,000 paid to by the city, and then title to the property at 614 First Street. So you may know that Mr. Habhab is the owner of the post office, or former post office building on the corner of the street, which is close to the tea room, close to this property. He's expressed perhaps a future use for parking if the post office is ever re-upped for a different type of use. Of course, you'd need to assemble some other properties as well. So this is an option for you to consider as we continue to talk about 614 First Street. I believe since our last time, we really have not received any serious proposals to remodel the building or rent it. Of course, there may be other alternatives here, but as proposed by Mr. Habab, he would take the building down for what is roughly $22,000 less than the lowest bids we received for it and the property.
Sounds good.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Call for motion to adjourn.
Second.
Favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Do you need anything signed or anything like